Well, President Trump wants Greenland. I mean, of course he does. And he's made that abundantly clear to the entire world. And of course, it's prompted many reactions and a question worth examining, and that is, could the United States actually acquire this frozen island in the North Atlantic? You know, peacefully, constitutionally. Well, here's the fundamental legal constitutional reality. To acquire territory and, make it part of the United States through a formal treaty, well, the president needs approval from 2/3 of the Senate. That's a lot. That's 67 senators, a supermajority that would require both Republican and Democratic support. And in today's political environment, that seems pretty tough. Now, there are other types of international arrangements that do not require necessarily treaty approval. Congress can authorize various agreements, and some deals happen through executive arrangements or even legislation. But for an actual transfer of sovereignty, real ownership, a treaty with Senate approval has essentially been the standard path for over 200 years now. Now, of course, we've acquired territory before, and the process has always been fairly complex. Thomas Jefferson doubled the size of our nation with the Louisiana Purchase back in 1803. Now, he actually worried that he might have been exceeding his constitutional authority, but he sent the agreement to the Senate anyway, and they approved it. And for $15 million, we gained what would become eventually 15 states. Now, that is the art of the deal. And then there's Alaska. Secretary of State at the time, William Seward, negotiated its purchase from Russia in 1867. And at the time, critics derided this transaction as Seward's folly and Seward's icebox. And as it turns out, they couldn't have been more wrong. The discovery of gold and oil, among other things, in Alaska has definitely increased its value many times over. Now, the U.S. Virgin Islands, well, that's an interesting story because that took 3 separate attempts to acquire these islands over 50 years from, ironically, Denmark. Now, there's a commonly repeated claim regarding Seward, the guy who helped negotiate the Alaska deal, that he also tried to buy Greenland during this period. However, the evidence about this fact does appear to be just a little bit murky. Now, Greenland, it's not simply a territory waiting for a buyer. It is not for sale. It's an autonomous region within the Kingdom of Denmark with its own government and roughly 57,000 residents, most of whom are of Inuit descent. Any change in Greenland's status would require consent from 3 parties: Denmark's government, Greenland's authorities, and the U.S. Congress. That's a pretty complex diplomatic equation. Now, the United States already actually does maintain military bases in Greenland under existing arrangements and agreements. We'll see if they continue. And I suppose we could potentially expand security cooperation or pursue economic partnerships with Greenland. But all of these approaches require extensive diplomacy, not something we're good at right now. Genuine consent from all parties and time. So then, why does Greenland matter? Well, it matters for a number of reasons. First, there are lots of shipping routes that go around Greenland. More important still, there are rare earth minerals, oil and natural gas. And most important would be that Greenland occupies a strategically vital position in the North Atlantic between North America and Europe. So could the United States, theoretically, acquire peacefully Greenland? Well, perhaps under very specific circumstances they could. Is it likely to happen? Well, no. The Constitution requires 67 senators to approve a treaty. Denmark and Greenland would both need to consent as well. Congress would then need to appropriate what could be hundreds of billions of dollars to actually purchase Greenland. Sovereignty isn't a simple real estate transaction. And every successful territorial acquisition in our history has required treaties, Senate approval, and extensive negotiation. Trump's Greenland ambitions face all of those constitutional hurdles, plus, of course, international backlash and domestic opposition. So, will America honestly be able to acquire Greenland peacefully? No chance. And by the way, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks.